What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Weekend Roundup here on Touchline Talk. Before I jump in, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the content I put out every single week. Going to go around Europe today, recapping everything that happened over the weekend, starting with the FA Cup quarterfinals. Manchester City, Brighton go through against lower level opposition very easily. Not much to say there. Both do exactly what you would expect. Erling Haaland scores more goals. Matoma does more good things for Brighton. You know the deal by now. Sheffield United goals 81st, 91st minute to complete their comeback against Blackburn Rovers to cement their spot in the semifinals and represent the championship. And then the highest level, sort of highest profile game that had one of the stranger series of events you'll see. Manchester United beat Fulham. Fulham scored the opening goal at Old Trafford. And then Willian gets a red card correctly for a handball that blocked the ball from going into the net. Therefore, you get the red and the penalty. But after that all got sorted out, Alexander Mitrovic decided it would be a good idea to touch the referee. He gets a red card. Marco Silva gets a red card. So you go from being up 1-0 to being tied 1-1, down 2 players, and then Sabitzer immediately scores a second for Manchester United. Eventually, there is a third added to make sure they get the job done. The Willian situation was unfortunate in and of itself. The ball was going in the net. He stopped it. It's a straight red. It's a penalty. That was the choice he made. He did save a goal. And then ultimately United converted from the penalty spot. There was no need for what Mitrovic did, though. That takes you from having a chance. Because again, even if when that penalty gets converted, it's 1-1. If you can just get to extra time, get to a penalty shootout, maybe you got a chance. By no means did that one incident decide the game. But when Mitrovic got involved and did what he did, and there's probably going to be a suspension coming with it too, a long one, that took him more or less out of the game because there was plenty of time for United to play 11v9. They punished him for it, and there was no way that Fulham were scoring a goal after that. In that situation, with a trip to Wembley on the line, for a club that's not going to get that many opportunities, for the face of the club to make that decision, and Marco Silva after the game was complaining about Chris Kavanagh, and I don't really know what they're upset about. Maybe there's more to this than meets the eye, but that was just it was just stupid on the part of Mitrovic. He decided that game. He took away the possibility that his team would find a way to get through. And so it's Manchester United still alive on all of these fronts, getting through in the Europa League. Obviously, you already have one cup, and now they're into the semifinals of the FA Cup as well. Your draw, Manchester City are going to play Sheffield United. Brighton are going to play Manchester United. So you could get a Manchester Derby in the final. You could get Brighton City in the final. And, of course, Sheffield there as well if they pull off the upset. So those are your 2 semifinal games. Once again, Manchester City, Sheffield United. Brighton, Manchester United. It's kind of also fitting Manchester United after what happened the first time they played Brighton this season, kind of get a second opportunity at redemption in the FA Cup. Bundesliga. I said last week, Dortmund's draw against Schalke, not great, but not the end of the world. And sure enough, they go and thump Cologne, and then Bayern Munich take the lead, give up 2 penalties, and lose to Bayer Leverkusen. And so as I'm recording this video, Dortmund are top of the Bundesliga because of that point that they got against Schalke. Now, this is setting the stage coming out of the international break for this showdown in Munich. but they're back to a spot where they need to get a draw, not a win. I really thought after that draw they would probably need to get a win, and it may end up being that way anyway, because that's assuming that they're, match Bayern the rest of the season. If they have some kind of loss like the one Bayern had over the weekend here, then even if they get the draw, it's not going to be enough, possibly if Bayern win out. But they have done the thing that has not happened in this title race for a long, long time. They are entering that game at the top of the table. The pressure is on Bayern. It is not somebody trying to chase Bayern. Bayern now, and we're in the middle of March, have to chase down Dortmund. And if Bayern lose that game, Dortmund have a 4-point cushion and seem to be playing exceptionally well again. After a little bit of a rough patch there, they bounced back in a big way in the Bundesliga this weekend. Bayern just have not been consistent enough to separate themselves. You still give them the edge because if they win this game, then they're back on top, and you got to like Bayern's chances of winning any home game. But this could, every week becomes closer and closer to this going down to the wire, because it's still not a 3-point cushion, even if Bayern win this game. So a massive week for Dortmund. Massive weekend, I should say, for Dortmund to get a very convincing win. Then Bayern go and lose, and all of a sudden, here we are. Dortmund are top of the Bundesliga table, setting up for a phenomenal game coming out of the international break. And then La Liga, speaking of rivalries and phenomenal games, El Clasico, part 4, goes Barcelona's way, just like 2 of the first 3. Although Real Madrid go ahead. Real Madrid think they go ahead a second time after Marcos Asensio scores, but that goal gets ruled out, and Frank Kessié picks a perfect time to get his first goal as a Barcelona player to win this thing late on. 2-1, it goes to Barcelona. I don't have too much to say here because I'm just going to keep repeating the same things I've said all season. They're the better team. They've shown it when they've played Real Madrid. They've shown it in their week-to-week performance in La Liga. Real Madrid just have a thing in the Champions League, and they know how to manage that competition. The gap between these two teams is pretty significant. The absence of Barcelona as a power in La Liga has changed the complexion of sort of how we view Real Madrid. Because they haven't been under that much pressure domestically. And by the way, Atletico Madrid have recently also won this league. In a season, and this is where I'll end it, in a season where there has been a lack of consistency outside of Napoli. Arsenal have been great. Arsenal also had a bad stretch. Arsenal just lost to, got knocked out of the Europa League by Sporting Lisbon. Manchester City haven't put together a great stretch. It's been some really good stuff and then a bad draw or a loss or whatever it might be. You're okay. So Real Madrid, not great in La Liga. Bayern having a bad season in the Bundesliga, still not even guaranteed to win that league. PSG are going to win Ligue 1, but they lose again. They haven't been great. The Milan clubs haven't been great. Juventus is out there still within striking distance of a Champions League spot after the way their season started, and a 15-point deduction. That's how inconsistent everybody outside of Napoli and Italy has been. All of that. Barcelona, and again, I understand that the European thing didn't go so well. But part of that is they got a tough Champions League group at the beginning of the season when they were still trying to put this thing together. And then they drew Manchester United, and they lost a close Europa League tie. Give me the team that shows up week after week. Does that mean they're ready to go win a Champions League next season? No, it takes a different set of circumstances, it's just a completely different animal. It's a different mindset. It's a different way you have to win. But to show up game after game and win a league, which to me will forever be the best way to prove your supremacy, they've been as good as anybody outside of Napoli this season. And they beat Real Madrid again, so it's up to 12 points. It probably just about finishes off a La Liga title for them. Yeah, you can talk about all the stuff with the finances, with the new, scandals that are coming out with the whole referee thing. I'm just talking about what's on the field. And what's on the field has been way more consistent than just about anybody in the world. And they're not getting enough credit for it. And they keep beating Real Madrid just to prove the point again, and they do so this weekend to just about wrap up the La Liga title. That is all for the weekend roundup. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time.